We're being joined by Congressman Mike Waltz for this Wednesday. The theme of the RNC is America, Land of the Heroes, so very military-focused, supporting police officers, firefighters, military-focused. Again, let's talk about that with Congressman Waltz. I didn't know. I assume you're in Washington. I didn't know if you were going to be part of the convention at all and speaking. Tell us what involvement you will have with today.
Well, I'll be at the White House tomorrow, where the president receives his nomination for re-election. And as you know, Mark, I was heavily involved in getting the convention to Jacksonville. I thought that would have been a real boon for Florida's economy. Unfortunately, we had another surge, and we have the current lineup. But I just want to take a second on what you mentioned on the theme. We also have the Land of Promise on Monday. And if you look at the contrast between last week and what the DNC put on and this week, I'm thrilled with the outcome so far. I think it is talking about an America that is flawed in some ways, that always needs improvement, but that overall is absolutely an exceptional country, and one that is, we just have such a lineup of everyday Americans, from business owners, entrepreneurs. I think I loved the Maine lobster farmer last night, and how the policies that the president has put in place have improved their lives in very meaningful ways. And what we're seeing is a litany of policies and things that he has gotten done in the last 3 years, from opportunity zones to VA reform and veterans reform, to the PPP program in response to the coronavirus, and we can go on down the list. Justice reform, tax reform, and other things. It's just such a contrast to last week. The dour, dark tone and tenor of the DNC convention.
I think what will really top this off, and I agree, this is a much better presentation, and it's well produced as well. It's a watchable event, which I'm glad of, because it does hold your attention. The president will need to roll out what he wants to do for a second term, won't he? I know there's a timing on this sort of thing, but some of the critics, even within the Republican Party, have said we need to know what he wants to do for a second term that will separate him from Joe Biden, because Biden just dealt with platitudes. Is the president going to roll out his agenda for a second term when he gives his formalized speech Thursday night?
I think so. I think you are going to see, a good, healthy discussion of what he has accomplished his first term, and some things that he wants to continue. And then you're going to see, and they have put out, both the campaign and the president's policy organization has put out a list of things that he wants to get accomplished in 4 years. Whether he talks about that, I'm not sure yet. But I do think it's important that this is a time where he can cut through the mainstream media's narrative and really talk about what he's gotten done and what he's going to do. And I think you're absolutely right. He needs to do that, and needs to take this opportunity where people are really focused on cutting through all of that noise and talk about where he's going to take the country in the next 4 years.
Congressman, on a somewhat unrelated issue, can you tell us where we stand with the post office now? I know you had a lot of misgivings about voting for that supplement plan that the Democrats were trying to ram through. Where are we with the post office?
So the briefings that I've received show the post office is sitting on about $14 billion in cash for its operations and maintenance. We passed, as part of the CARES Act, a $10 billion line of credit that, in whether it's an emergency with the coronavirus or in preparations for the election, that it could dip into. It has not had to do so yet. And then there's another $10 billion for, again, more election-focused funding that has been discussed as part of the next stimulus package. So the post office, for its operations and to get through this election, is fine. The bigger issue is dealing with its pension and the way it has to pre-fund its pension. And ironically, Mark Meadows, now the president's chief of staff when he was a representative, and the late Elijah Cummings put a bill forward to deal with that pension issue. And when they did so last year, Pelosi wasn't interested. But now, when she can kind of create this manufactured crisis, then suddenly she's interested in reform. What I thought was disappointing, Mark, was that we were all called back to deal with only that post office issue, which was, again, I think, manufactured. These are longstanding issues, and the reforms, whether those are mailboxes or sorting machines, have been going on since the Obama administration. But we didn't deal with another round of PPP. We didn't deal with unemployment insurance. We didn't deal with liability reform. All of those things we could have also dealt with, and she refused because she's taking an all or nothing $3.5 trillion wish list, much of which has nothing to do with Corona. Well, she's taking an all or nothing approach, and I think that's truly unfortunate for people who need help.
Finally, this question. We've had a lot of people say to us that they're concerned that we may not know the winner on Election Day. Even the president has said that we might not know for some time who wins the election. That's kind of a troubling thought because, if I'm not mistaken, I've been told the Constitution says that if we don't have this thing settled by January 20th, and that's a long way from the election, the Speaker of the House would end up being president. Do you share that worry?
Well, I am concerned that we will not know on election night. I am because we are seeing an avalanche of vote by mail in a lot of states that, frankly, unlike Florida, I think Florida's prepared for it. We've been doing it now for quite some time. I'm very confident, particularly in our election officials in our counties in Volusia and Flagler. But states like New Jersey that is about to blast ballots out to its entire voter list. We just saw New York with just a Democratic primary become completely overwhelmed. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the signatures, the database of signatures to match. So I am worried a number of states that aren't prepared to handle this.
All right. Congressman Mike Waltz doing his Friday briefing with us today. Congressman, have a good rest of the week. We'll talk to you very soon, sir.